Get started. Deputy Trent Ferris, Public Information Officer for the York County Sheriff's Office. Thank you all for coming today. We have a lot of people behind me, and if I forget somebody that's not mentioned here on this list, I apologize, but hopefully we'll get all that figured out here soon. We have the York County Sheriff's Office, Clover Police Department, Chester Sheriff's Office, Narcotics and Drone Unit, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, ATF Task Force Officer, the DEA, ATF, the York County Sheriff's Office SWAT Team, and Piedmont EMS. We're here to talk about a significant narcotics investigation, arrest, and drug seizure. I'm going to go over the facts, and then we're going to have Sheriff Tony Breeden, Chief Grice, and Solicitor Brackett come speak to you. The investigation started in February this year, and the arrests happened on September 4th. It all began with controlled purchases and using confidential informants and undercover police officers. Following complaints from the community about drug activity and violent crime in the area of Clover, including a shooting at Roosevelt Park in Clover during a Little League baseball game when kids were on a field playing. That's when the investigation intensified. In this case, all the accused were part of a tightly knit, organized group, and it took nearly 8 months to infiltrate and gather sufficient evidence on everyone involved, leading to the arrests. To the table to my right, you'll see that there were nearly 11 pounds of methamphetamine, 602 grams of cocaine, 388 grams, that's almost 0.8 pounds more than half a pound of fentanyl, 15 grams of crack, 1,595 grams of marijuana, 12 dose units of oxycodone, 12 dose units of Xanax and alprazolam, and also 13 firearms. One was stolen, and one was a shot-off shotgun. More than $7,800 was seized. We're going to scroll through some of the people who were involved in this, the folks who were arrested. The entire operation was run through a barbershop in Clover, barbershop/convenience store at 501 Kings Mountain Street in Clover. Next slide. Aaron Jerome Floyd. He was arrested with 11 pounds of methamphetamine. He is one of the top people in the group. He's a documented gang member and leader of the blood gang sets in Clover and the surrounding areas. Next slide. Frederick Stevens Jr. is currently out on bond from Charlotte for attempted murder, attempted first-degree murder, and assault with a deadly weapon with an intent to kill. Next slide. Houston Santonio Williams was in possession of 257 grams of fentanyl, that's half a pound, and if convicted, it's a mandatory minimum of 25 to 40 years, and Solicitor Brackett will talk about that here in a moment. Tamal Gerald Francis was located and arrested in Charlotte on the morning of the operation, that was September. He was in possession of approximately 20 grams of fentanyl, 8 grams of marijuana, and a handgun. He was entered into NCIC for our charges. However, he received a bond and was released from a Charlotte jail over the weekend. He is still at large. So if you know where Tamal Gerald Francis is, please call Crime Stoppers of York County at 1-877-409-4321 or go to crimestoppersofyorkcounty.com. Next slide. Cornell Anthony Tucker. Tucker lived in the barbershop where the incident took place at 501 Kings Mountain Street. Tucker oversaw the daily operations at that location and also distributed drugs from that shop. Draquan Tyreek Starr, he is a suspect of an armed robbery. He was a suspect of an armed robbery that took place in Gaston County, North Carolina, hours before the operation took place on September 4th in York County. The remaining people, Traquise Robbins, Jarius Tariq Brown, Derek Maurice Middleton, Quantavious Kennedy, all also have narcotics and distribution charges. Next, I'd like to invite Sheriff Breeden for a few comments.
Just want to reiterate and emphasize that, you know, certain agencies and certain departments can't do this without the multi-jurisdictional drug unit. And without the cooperation of state, local, and federal agencies, some of these things aren't possible. So I think that that's the big emphasis, is the success of the drug unit and everything that it does, and also the leadership. Chief Watts, for years, leadership that he's given me, also Chief Yurta, Chief Crosby, and Chief Trail will speak, but it's the entire drug unit and also the leadership that Solicitor Brackett has. And people just need to understand that those partnerships, especially with federal agencies that come in and make this possible to go to other states and things like that. So that's really what the key is. These things can't happen in certain agencies without the partnership that everybody has. So thank you.
Good morning, Chief Grice, Clover Police Department. I want to reiterate everything that they all said, and want to take this time to thank everybody that was involved from the local level all the way up to the federal level. Without any part of that, none of this probably would have happened. And as the sheriff mentioned, smaller agencies have a hard time with drugs because it takes so long, and there's intense investigations that has to happen. And here in York County, being part of the multi-jurisdictional drug unit, and with the relationship of all these guys that we all have, that's what made this happen. And I know that other agencies in other parts of the state and stuff have tried to pattern after this, and it didn't work nowhere near as good as it did. And I think that has to do with the personal relationships that we all have. But with that being said, having that team is the reason that there's criminals off the street today, drugs off the street, money that has been taken that these criminals were using to make their operation bigger and better, that police has it in their custody now. And all that's thanks to these guys that took care of that. And I want to thank all of them at this time for the help that we've received from them in the Clover area.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Brackett, the solicitor for the 16th Circuit, the chief prosecutor here in York County. I appreciate everyone coming out today to learn about this incident and learn a little bit more about the work that's been done. At the outset, as is required and I am ethically bound to do, I have to remind everybody that these are charges at this point. They have not been convicted, and everybody charged with a crime in the United States is presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a burden that I am very excited to meet in the courtrooms here in York County because of the outstanding work that's been done by the Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Enforcement Unit. For those of you that aren't familiar, more than 25 years ago, almost 30 now, all of the agencies in York County came together to form a one central unit to deal with narcotics and the problems that are posed by narcotics in our community. Every agency, every law enforcement agency, and my office have come together to address this issue, and this is an example of what happens when all these agencies come together and collaborate on an investigation. This is also an example for those of you that ever wonder about whether or not narcotics are a victimless crime. When you look at what goes on with narcotics and the attendant violent crime that surrounds narcotics trafficking, you cannot help but notice that violent crime and dealing drugs they go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. Half of my homicides are drug related. So the work that they're doing doesn't just interdict narcotics and make it more challenging for dopers and addicts to find drugs and for people to sell and make money and profit off of the addicts. It also reduces violent crime. So we're very, very grateful for the work that the Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Enforcement Unit does. We're also, we have had the narcotics or the fentanyl trafficking statute in place now for about a year and a half. And that statute is already proving to be a very, very useful tool in dealing with the damage that fentanyl does to our communities and the number of people that are dying every single day in South Carolina. The last time I looked, it was 5 a day. There was one every 3 to 3.5 days in York County. Those numbers are coming down, which is good news. The bad news is that the numbers are coming down because people are just, we're running out of people to die. The addicts are dying, and I think that is one of the tragedies that's come about from the fentanyl epidemic, is that, you know, it is killing the user base and reduction of demand, because the people who buy it are one by one dying off. So I don't know whether anybody has any questions about this, but again, this is the, right here on the table in front of me, this is the evidence, and this is the proof that, you know, narcotics are very much a problem in our community, and the work that the team has done in this particular case, particularly with some of the violence that surrounded these guys and the allegations against them for shooting up a baseball field with a bunch of kids on it, that is absolutely unacceptable. And one of the other things I did want to mention is that we have people that come down here from Charlotte. This is something that has, if you've been following me for any amount of time, 20 years ago, I put a billboard up at the state line with faces of people that were convicted here in York County, but they came down from Charlotte natives who were getting large amounts of time. I hate to report, but the situation hasn't improved in 20 years. And I don't know what it's going to take to get Raleigh to take crime seriously in North Carolina. I have no influence over them except to stand here in South Carolina and complain that their problems are washing over the border into my community, the community that we're responsible for keeping safe. So I implore Raleigh to start funding their criminal justice system appropriately so they can address their cases quickly, and do away with this structured sentencing policy that they put in place many years ago, which does not hold offenders accountable and does not scare them away from a life of crime. When they come down here, they experience true accountability. Up in Charlotte, they don't, because the criminal justice system there is not funded. When you ask for a jury trial up in North Carolina and Charlotte, it could take 3 years to get you into court. Here, we'll have you there in under a year. And when you get convicted, you will go to prison for a long period of time. So I take this opportunity to remind the criminal element in Charlotte that this is the last place you want to do business. And second, to ask Raleigh to once again take a hard look at how you're funding criminal justice and the policies that you're implementing in North Carolina to hold offenders accountable. Because until you do, we're going to continue to have this problem. And nothing's going to change in Charlotte, nothing's going to change in North Carolina until they address that. So thank you again for coming today, and we'll entertain any questions that you might have. I would defer to somebody from the DEU, or if someone up here wants to field that one. They haven't, what he said, in case you didn't hear it, was they haven't confirmed the entire group is, but some of them are.
Can you elaborate on exactly how this works? I know a barbershop was involved. Is there some sort of sport going on inside of the barbershop? Elaborate on that.
Well, unfortunately, as you know, we can't go into the details. Cases are supposed to be tried in court, not tried in the media, so we can't go into the details and the evidence in too much detail, except to let you know that Clover is safer today than it was a couple of weeks ago because of the work that they've done. But we're not allowed to talk too much about the evidence and so forth, because that would potentially affect.
Can you say what was going on inside of a barbershop, generally speaking, without getting too much detail?
From what I was told, that there was a barbershop / convenience store, and the operation was working out of that barbershop / convenience store. And that's about all we could tell you about it.
Andrew Dice from the Herald, thank you for having us. Has a decision been made to prosecute these people in South Carolina state court or federal court or both? And B, is there any reason to believe that drugs came from Charlotte or anywhere else for that matter, and
So currently, these people are all charged in state court, but we always review every single case to determine whether or not the most effective prosecution can take place in state or federal court. So we're always open to the possibility that our colleagues in the federal system might be the better way to go. Our fentanyl laws are tough in South Carolina, so oftentimes it's South Carolina is the best venue for that. I can't say where all these drugs came from. I know the fentanyl came from Mexico. I'm pretty confident about that, and the precursors came from China, so we all kind of understand that. But as far as the impact, the overall impact is hard to gauge, but I can tell you the direct impact in Clover is significant. It is harder to find drugs today than it was 2 weeks ago, as I told you now. There's always people that are willing to foolishly step up and take people's place, and we'll deal with them as they do. But right now, it has definitely had a very positive impact on narcotics, the ease with which people can find drugs in Clover, at least in the short term, Andrew.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the murder, the suspect that had been charged with murder in North Carolina? So he was out on bond in North Carolina and then found to be involved in this as well? Is that what you all said?
I know that the individual was charged in North Carolina with North Carolina offenses. I know nothing about those, but he was arrested and released, and we were also looking at him at the same time for our incidents and our situation here in South Carolina. And that's one of the symptoms of having this underfunded system up there is that the jail, the detention center in Charlotte, is chronically overcrowded. And they have to make really hard decisions about who they're going to hold. Even people that are dangerous, people that have shot and killed people here, I've had to go to North Carolina and beg the judges up there not to release them. Somebody who shot a police officer, didn't kill him, but shot a police officer, a highway patrolman some years ago, I had to go and sit in court and ask the judge not to set a bond because they routinely set a bond on fugitives that are wanted in South Carolina, and these people don't show up. And they're forced to do that because their situation is so dire with the overcrowded docket and the overcrowded detention center, they can't hold them. So people that would not get a bond in South Carolina are released up in Charlotte, and they're released oftentimes to commit more crimes. So.
Chief Bryce, you mentioned that it's harder for smaller communities like Clover to have made a bus like this. Elaborate how big of a bus this is for the size of Clover and what the message sends to the folks who are looking to see this video. This is probably more drugs they've seen in their entire lifetime, and you all have been able to do this in a couple of months.
That is correct. There's drug trafficking and stuff that goes on just about every day. Some on the smaller scale, but this is a huge scale for what we're seeing in our area. I hope there's no more operations this big in Clover. If there is, I'm not aware of it at this time. But this affects from the small people all the way up to the big people, and it affects people from every walk of life. And Clover is a whole lot safer because of this. And there's no way that a smaller agency, a lot of smaller agencies that are around that could put the personnel out to do what needs to be done if we didn't have the structured multi-jurisdictional task force that we have that can devote the time and the expertise to do what they did. They performed this with precision, with great knowledge and everything, and they crossed every T and dotted every I, and did an excellent job. And that was something that we're part of it, but we couldn't do it by ourselves.
Can you talk a little bit more about, and I just have a two-part question.
Okay.
You may not be able to comment on these, but obviously you were out there when the incident happened at the baseball game. Is there anything
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can say about what was going on there in hindsight? And then the second question has to do with the community aspect of this. It was mentioned that some of this investigating started in February, addressed obviously September more recently. Can you talk about what from the community led to all of this?
The incident that happened at the baseball game, I can't say a whole lot about it because I still think that's pending in court, and I don't want to do anything to hinder the case. But spotlight on some of the activity and stuff that was going on, even though that started somewhere else and moved to the baseball game. But the drug team from that point stepped up their investigation to help get some of these people off the street that were involved, that went hand in hand together. If that answers your question without damaging the case. Okay. Okay.
Question to Sheriff Reardon, if I may. You keep saying Clover, and Clover is 1 mile in a circle with about 8,000 people, but the address of Clover is 30,000, 40,000 people, including Lake Wiley, includes all the way up to the state line, down to the, almost to the Rockland City limits, 2 blocks of territory. That's Clover address there by Lake Wiley. Can you address how you are handling this kind of problem in northwestern York County that literally comes to start?
Yeah, I mean, and that, it just goes to speak, like I said, it's not all just Clover downtown. And historically, some people on social media even think Lake Wiley's its own place, and it's not. But it's, the thing is it's the same thing that with the multi-jurisdictional drug unit. Some things may start in Rock Hill that they discover some of it's involved in Fort Mill. Some of it may start in Fort Mill that bleeds over into the western side. And that's the whole reason for the success of a multi-jurisdictional drug unit, because with the north and east and a west office, they all work together. They're all doing their independent things, but at any given moment, they're all combined and working a case that, like you said, could go all the way across jurisdictions. So the whole key of the success of all of it is the leadership that they have, and that they're all willingness to work together, and each office functioning individually and then also together when they need to. So when you have that kind of thing, you don't think of it in terms of Clover, York, Sharon, Rock Hill. You think of it as York County, and everything's encompassed in it. So that's what the whole purpose of it is. We don't think in terms of just this area and that area, because sometimes they all flow together. So that's what really comes from it.
I have a follow-up to that. Dave, Solicitor Brackett was direct in when he said to persons who might commit criminal acts, raising the view of the sheriff of York County, 330,000 people, that you suspect every day that you want to tell these people or tell the rest of your county?
Well, I mean, he said it. We can't control what Charlotte's going to do, but we can control when you get here. And all of our people are constantly focused on it, and we're not necessarily, we also don't base our decision on what your driver's license says. If you break the law here, we're going to go after you. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you didn't learn a lesson from up there, then come down here and learn a lesson. But we can't control where people are going to come from. Doesn't matter.
One more question.
I'll ask it if nobody else. Does this preclude any other interdiction up this I-77, Port, Highway 49, bridge there, the ingress and egress to York County from North Carolina? Should we look for, should the public look for, more importantly, more interdiction efforts for drugs coming in and out of York County?
Y'all aren't done, are you? I think we can. All right.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate it. I have all the information that you need from what was on the screen up here today, so if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them afterwards. But we are concluding the news conference for today. Thank you.